What is up, guys? I want to take a little time out to talk about one of my favorite bands. And when I say one of my favorite bands, I don't, there's albums of theirs I haven't really listened through, and there's a lot of material that I just, haven't explored. But one of my favorite albums is this album Ascendency, and the band is Trivium. And Ascendency, I was about 19 when I came across this album, and I think it had been out for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years previous to this, maybe longer. But this band, so Ascendency, that album is just, I love listening to it when I run. I obviously listen to all sorts of things, but for some reason that one really stands the test of time for me. And it's a really pump up album, and I'll go into why I believe that is the case, or why I resonate with it. But before I do, I kind of want to talk about the band itself. Matt Heafy, the frontman, he actually joined Trivium, the band, when he was 14, and they were older kids. They were maybe like 2 years older than him, and he was trying out for this band because he could play guitar and he could also sing, but I think they were hiring him as a guitarist. And he said that tryout was completely rough. It was just like I guess the singer was really judgmental of him, because he was younger, and I don't know, maybe felt a little bit competitive. And I don't know the whole story, but I think a week or two later, like the singer or a few other people quit, and what ended up happening was, I believe the only people left in the band at one point were just Matt and the drummer, Travis. So they were like, okay, I guess this is our band now. So they just kind of took it from there, and I believe they inherited the name. But pretty soon they met up with Corey, who's right around Matt's age, and Paulo. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's been a long time since I've watched interviews and stuff, so I think it's Paulo. But he's a bassist, and this group, I watched them in live time, or maybe a year or two off. Basically, live time of people criticizing the heck out of these guys because they were so young. So when you have other guitarists and members in metal bands who are not as successful or who are not achieving their dreams, there's so much jealousy that happens. And at the time, they were being kind of put into the metalcore genre that was going on, which by the metal elitists, is considered kind of like a sub. It's considered like below metal, like not really metal, sort of like more in the emo category. And as a fan of metal, I'll tell you this: I understand what they mean, not necessarily from Trivium, but I understand what they mean where some of these metalcore bands sound more like punk or something to me, pop punk, with electric distorted guitars and heavy riffs and stuff like that. So I get that, but you'll notice, if you are a fan of metal or have been for a while, there's a lot of elitism, and there's a lot of people are very particular, very picky in that genre. Not everybody, but a lot of them are. And they want to break down everything into subgenres. This is a combination of these two types of metal, subgenres. And this band is this, but in this album they explore this, and it's a way to describe the music, but at the same time, it's really it's an effort to explain the music from a technical perspective, but it puts the music in a box. And the Trivium, the band, was very aware of this. So on their following album, The Crusade, they tried to break from that metalcore, what they were being kind of labeled as, and they went for a kind of a thrash metal plus their own sort of style direction. And then they were getting criticized for copying Metallica, which again, I don't think they sound like Metallica. I don't personally think so, but so again, the band was, trying to fight against a lot of these these haters on the internet. And I remember scrolling down at the comments and seeing such polarizing comments about this band, and they're all super cool guys, hardworking dudes. They even got criticism from other bands that they looked up to. I heard one scenario, and I won't name the band, but I was shocked. Like, Matt sent his album to this band that he looked up to, and I guess the guy didn't give any constructive criticism. He was like, it's just not that good. I mean, it's not that great. And that was it. It's like, and at that point, Matt was saying he realized that not everyone is his friend. Like, there's a competitive sort of environment that exists. It doesn't have to, you know what I mean? But some people carry that. And so all this being said, the album Ascendency, the one that I love so much, there's a few albums of theirs that I really love too. Shogun is pretty awesome. But what was I saying? That album came out when they were right out of, I think all three of the members were 18 years old or younger, maybe 17. So they really got started early. Like I said, Matt has been in the band since he was 14. And what I respect about this, people say talent, but to me, I say courage, because it takes a tremendous amount of courage, especially in the genre of metal, where the fans can be so vicious. And so it's a combination of aggression and nerdery, if that's a word. Like, people are so opinionated in this genre, and because it's kind of an outcast genre, it's very interesting. You're gonna get so much interesting, diverse music. There are so many subgenres, that you can look into, so many different sounds, and so many bands that don't fit in a box and don't want to. They're gonna put out a different type of sound with every album, or try to avoid being labeled, because sometimes when you get a label, there's a group of fans that like you to explore, and there's a group of fans that want you to stick with what they know. So and Slayer is like that. Slayer, they stick with what they know because they feel that that's what their fans are looking for, and they kind of like that. They call themselves the AC/DC of metal. And I remember Henry Rollins, Black Flag and Henry Rollins Band, he's a comedian as well, talking about how he appreciates that of Slayer, that when they put out a Slayer album, he knows what he's getting. So anyway, about this band, now all these years later, Matt's only 2 years older than me. Most of those guys are only like 2 years older than me. I think they almost got a Grammy or something. They were nominated for a Grammy or something like that. I forget what sort of awards those are, but that's a big deal. This is a band that has been working really hard over the years, and has been really consistent. And now there's nothing but positivity for the most part that I notice, towards this band. Matt has his own YouTube channel where he does covers, multiple times a week, I think, or at least once a week, of any song that you can ask of him. He'll take a metal song and do an acoustic version, or he'll take a pop song and turn it metal. So that's really cool, and I could put that down below. But I have a lot of respect for this band, because I was able to actually watch them grow, and I saw the amount of criticism and competitiveness from other bands and different things, that were being done to them. And despite all of this, and you could tell that, I know they were hurt by that, because how can you not? You're trying to connect with people, and then you're coming up against all this resistance. It can be very confusing, but I think these guys have just worked their butts off, and they've explored things, and they've stuck with their own integrity, and they've tried to kind of listen to their fans and at the same time listen to themselves. So it's cool to see a group that's gutsy like that. So anyway, respect for Trivium. Cool beans, guys. Peace. I could put maybe some of their music down below too if you're interested. It's not for everybody, but it is pretty cool music. So have a good one, guys. And just wanted to mention the reason I resonate with the album Ascendency is because it's got, you know, that Iron Maiden sort of feel while bringing in all sorts of different styles of metal, like really heavy. The overall feeling I get through it is this idea of perseverance. The album feels like perseverance. It feels like a protagonist in a very dark world, you know, pushing on. That's what the album sounds like to me. And when you are involved in a challenge that you want to be involved in, you know, like running or I love running with it. It feels really nice to listen to because running can be challenging, but I do have an interest in it to develop. And the album has got that sort of that vibe about it where it feels like, you know, the music is, whoever is experiencing the music, the singer or just the ambience, it sounds like there's a challenge, but there's also this sense of perseverance and you know, courage and strength. So that is why I like the album. That's why I love the album, actually. So cool beans, guys. Peace. Have a good one.